What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another set of Genshin Impact reactions. Today we have a Carefree Cup and After Tea Party. Both of these are from the same location as the last songs I listened to, so I'm kind of aware of what to expect going into this one, but that doesn't mean there isn't going to be a bunch of new stuff going on musically. So as per requested by Harshit, of course, in the comments of the last video, here we are, and without further ado, let's go! Huh. It's very carefree. It does sound weirdly familiar. I didn't re-listen to anything from last week, but maybe it's borrowing something from those? Maybe. The bagpipes. Hell yeah. It is so carefree. It's so fun. So lighthearted and jovial. Ooh, ooh. Oh. I didn't expect that little dissonance in there. Just a little bit. Nice. I kind of thought earlier was going to be the ending, but kind of got a little bit more there at the end. It also gave us that interesting little bit there. Again, the dissonance is not something I expected in something so bright and bubbly, but at the same time, sure, you know, like I'm sure there's a reason for that to happen in the song, and I'm kind of interested as to why. All right, so I kind of missed something with this song. When it started, I did not realize it was already in E minor, and then when it moved to E, I was like, oh, like that didn't really seem like much of a jump, and there's a reason for that compared to the last one where it moves back to the E minor. Sorry that I'm starting this section off with a lot of music theory talk. It's just immediate, but like that's the part that was bugging me. I was like, whoa, why the dissonance? Why would that happen? And it turns out because it started with that dissonance, it got rid of that dissonance effectively, and then it brought it back in a lot more of an obvious way. And that's where I was like, oh god, that dissonance is in there. So this song, like I mentioned, starts in E minor, so that's there, right? We have that E minor there. We get E minor, we get like C's in there, but mainly it's E minor, it's B, and also a little bit of B minor, but we kind of center around the B here, so it's that, these two, and like D, you know, like D, and then again, E does happen quite a bit in this song as well. So it's just where we are with this song. This song decides that it wants to start in this like more down sort of energy. It's not necessarily a sad energy. Just because it's in a minor key does not mean that it's sad. It's just them adjusting the song for the tone of whatever needs to happen. So if it starts a little bit more melancholic or something like that, that's where the minor would come in handy and just kind of, you know, be there to start in like a little bit of a softer tone, and then it almost immediately brightens up. And we brighten that up by going from the E minor to a G, and then that adds this different energy to the song. What this does is it moves the B right there in the very top of this E minor, the last note there, that dominant at the end, and it moves it to the center. So now we have a chord. That B up there that's always been there since the beginning of the song is now in a different placement in relevance to the rest of the song's chords. It just shifts its importance in the overall structure of the song. Even though the progression really doesn't move all that much, we largely stick with that like E and the B. It's just where the energy of the song is. So it kind of does more like an E, a B, and a C, which is just a brighter build. And that's the relationship this song has. When the song decides it wants to go back to the E minor, everything starts falling apart, basically. We have this E here, and we want to get back down to this. And instead of just jumping to that chord and jumping straight from an E to an E minor, they kind of use that like dissonant dance downward. They kind of like mix some of the scales that like cross over between each other. So we're adjusting the song back to that darker sound, and that's why it sounds so jarring at that one moment, because we are kind of going to that, and we have to do stuff in order for that to work out well. So we end up just having this relationship going on of like, how do we get down there? Basically just following the scale of E downward, but then starting to introduce these sorts of notes. That to me is actually a pretty significant and interesting way to do this. Again, it feels really jarring at that one spot, and I feel like there is a purpose for that. I'm not entirely sure what that purpose may be, but since we started so brightly and we went from the E minor up to the G, and we shifted the whole energy from this like lower sound to the higher sound, it's like, oh, okay, now it's in a new position. Now we have this like brighter tone. We could have just done that again in reverse, and it would have felt largely the same. It would have just been the shift down, kind of like in a car, you know? So it's like, okay, not a big adjustment to be done. But instead of shifting the gears on a car, they decided they wanted to start pressing every single fucking button on the dashboard, hoping that it would do something, and then we ended up getting there somehow, and you're still not entirely sure how you did it. So that's the vibe that this song gave off at that one spot, and I'm not sure what the point of that is. Again, I feel like there's a reason, but I couldn't tell you what it is. That's an interesting characteristic coming from a song called Carefree Cup, which by all disclaimer should be a carefree song, and having that one spot that sounds like it suddenly starts to care makes me worry a little bit. But I should stop yapping about this one, and we should get to After Tea Party. So without further ado, let's go. We're back to this background. Oh, that's delightful. Oh, that's so pretty. Ooh. Oh. You're always gonna catch me loving a cello. God, that's so beautiful. Ooh. Vocals. It's strange. This is reminding me a lot of something. And it's probably not what you're thinking of. If you're trying to guess, you won't. That's a beautiful song, though. Of course, I gotta tell you now what that was reminding me of. All right, so for whatever reason, this song reminded me of the painting A Sunday Afternoon on the Island of La Grande Jatte, which I don't know why it reminded me of that. It just fits the vibe. I'll put it up on screen so you can see it, of course. I'm sure you've probably seen it before, but now you kind of get what I'm talking about. Maybe just a little bit, you kind of feel it. I don't know, but I felt that, weirdly enough. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it was just the tea party thing, but it's just, this is the vibe I expect from that painting, you know? This kind of encapsulates that energy really well. Didn't expect that. But either way, I really enjoyed the song for the vibes it brings. Like, it fits perfectly with the whole after a tea party energy. Like, what you would be feeling after having just a nice time, you know? Maybe on a Sunday afternoon in an island. I don't know. You know, stuff like, it just feels good, right? The bounciness of this one, this is mostly sitting in C, and it just kind of just sits between C and D minor. Like that's the core of it, albeit they are sevenths, because why wouldn't they be sevenths? Like, you know, like it's just, It has to be. And most of the song, of course, is sevenths. The song does move around a little bit, but it's mostly that. We go down to like the A minor, and of course, gotta have the seventh on there, and then like a D seventh as well for that. So it's just a lot of that movement, and that's just kind of where they decide to take the song. And it's a nice feeling because it just cycles back around perfectly to these other chords that we've already experienced. And again, just largely bouncing between these two just to keep that energy rolling. The song doesn't like to move too far away from that, but there is one point where we deviate from that almost entirely, but a little bit earlier before that deviation, we do go down to like an A minor and gotta have that seventh in there. And then it also goes up to this, which is a really interesting chord. That is a G flat minor seventh flat fifth. That is such a strange combo. I mean, like, you could do that, but it's way too crunchy. So it's this for sure, it's within the key. It basically is just the A minor with that on there. It's just a little bit of that G flat, a little bit of everything else, and it just adds some stank to the music, and I love that. And while that is very stanky, we get a lot more stank a little bit later, like basically right after we hit that beauty up there, and we just have that whole chord going. We're like, ooh, all right, so that's a little bit new. Then we move from the D minor up to an F minor. So now we have this F minor going. It's like, all right, where are we going with the F minor? F minor now changes the entire song. We move into this progression that's the cello solo of it all, and they start moving around from here. We go F minor, we go down to the B flat, we go then to a E flat major, we go from that to an E flat minor. And then it's just, there's so much movement for this one. We get an A flat after that. We go up to a D flat. We go to a D flat seventh in there as well. So we have this like lift in that. And then we go back up to like the F major. Once we get up there, adding that seventh, we have this entire family up to the G seventh, back down to an E minor again with that seventh on there to hang on just a little bit longer. And then we have and a seventh. Again, everything to be sevens in here. We move back up to the D minor seventh, and then we cycle back down, and we sit in this. And this is the beauty of this song. I love that little separate moment, that little soli of the cello doing their thing. Beautiful, because underneath that we have this fantastic movement, this gorgeous movement in the song, and it feels so much more bright and flowing. The entire song changes from just being those, as nice as it is to hear these, it's just not really doing too much. It's keeping things pretty subtle, but then we start moving around a bunch more with those other chords, and it makes the entire song come more alive. And of course, the cello doing a lot of that heavy lifting, but the song has to be supported by some beautiful piano, which it is, and like I just showed you, happens in there. I love especially that relationship of going from the like the seventh here Oh, it's just such a beautiful combination of chords. It's basically the perfect recipe for just a beautiful end to a statement in music. It is a beautiful relationship there. And the seventh's doing a lot of that heavy lifting too, just making the entire thing feel more together because it's leading the song in basically every direction that it possibly could and allows for that flexibility. I talk about that a lot. And that's just why these sorts of moments are why I try to drill that home so hard when I talk about the music theory, because it is so good, especially in these more like thinned out classical songs where you have a lot more of that freedom with basically anything. You could include anything, but sometimes just stripping stuff down to their bare bones, a couple of instruments, is the most powerful thing you could do. And having just the piano being basically the only thing underneath this cello and everyone is speaking above that, it's just a beautiful song, and I just love this. I also love the contrast between between like getting bagpipes in the first one and then this beautiful cello moment in the second song. What a weird combo, but at the same time, they kind of do hit similar vibes, just in a very different way, especially because this one doesn't ever once hit any sour note. It's all very familial. Everything really works well together. It's all within the expected keys and chords. It is the key of C as far as I could tell, but that's what's strange about it, is because once we start moving around to like the F minor and everything, like we get that movement in there. It's like, okay, well, that's going somewhere else. But where is it going? Because I feel like they went from the C to the F minor just for that little bit, and then they moved back. They just kind of made a modulation there and adjusted the song accordingly. It's not like you can't do that. You should do that, especially when you want a song to evolve naturally. You just have to find a place for that to work. And since we have all these sevenths in here, you can really go anywhere. And like this helps out a lot too. Like right there, as you can hear that, these three notes here, this is the F, the C, and the E up here, is most of the F minor. If you add the in there, you get a little bit more of that stank, but largely it's all white keys. So you just have to make modulations and make that step down for the A here, and you have that. It's a beautiful chord for a beautiful feeling that kind of sits in a very gray area for the rest of the song, but that's what makes it so powerful as an adjustment. You're making a single note move down, and the entire feeling of the song now shifts, and it opens you to more chords. That's what we were getting through a lot of these. Just a lot of these sorts of relationships were opened because we had that note there. This is music theory incarnate. This is the beauty of how you can adjust and modify your song in order to make something feel so much more emotional for just a little bit before getting back into the simplicity of it all. You started there, return there, but somewhere in the middle, there needs to be a little bit more conversation. Otherwise, it'll just turn into another background song. And when you're trying to make something that has an emotion tied to it for whatever happened after the tea party, this is a beautiful composition. But I have been yapping a little bit too much, so thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want me to get to something else, by all means, drop in the comments below, and I will do my best as always to get to those. Or if you don't want to do any of that, maybe just want to follow me and support me for more stuff coming in the future, you know how to do all that, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!